I've asked a lot of people recently what was the first gaming system they played on, and depending on their age, it would always be a different answer. Some people said that they started off in the late 90s and played the Sony PlayStation or Sega Saturn. Some others went a few years back from them, with the Super Nintendo and the Sega Mega Drive. There's also a load of people that grew up with the original Nintendo Entertainment System, or even something like an Atari 2600. But it got me thinking, what was the first systems I actually played on? For me, being born in the mid-80s in the UK, that meant playing on a ZX Spectrum and an Amiga. It's because of these two systems that I'm addicted to computer games. Both systems were very common in the UK, with the Spectrum being released earlier and the Amiga coming on not long after. So today I thought it would be quite fun to look at the first 4 games that got me hooked into gaming. The very first game I can ever remember playing is Jetpack on the Spectrum. Games for the Spectrum came on cassette tapes, and I still have the noise of the game loading in my head probably about as much as I do Sonic the Hedgehog music. The gameplay is super simple and the same all the way through apart from the first stage. You control an astronaut trying to rebuild his spaceship. Once you've collected all the pieces, you then need to gather fuel for it. And once you've managed to get enough fuel, you can then finally take off and go to another planet. Trying to stop you from doing this is a bunch of colourful enemies that change per level. These can be blasted down with your space laser, but they will infinitely spawn. As the levels progress, the types of enemies and their patterns start to change up dramatically. You can get very frantic very quickly. This is about as simple as a game can be, but considering I would have only been about 2 or 3 at the time, it was an absolute joy to play. And unlike some of the other titles that are going to be shown, this is still fun to play now. Next up is a title called Scumble, and it has probably one of my favourite front covers to any game that's ever been released. This is a maze-like action platformer where you control a little robot named Linda as you travel around sewers. Now I'm not going to lie, even when I was younger and I would read the instructions for this game, I never really understood what I was meant to do. I would just go around the levels shooting absolutely everything and picking up any objects I could get to. Flash forward 30 years and I've actually looked up what you're meant to do, even though the instructions, now I've read it again, quite clearly say it. There are 8 grenades that are hidden among the 100+ screens. When you find one of these grenades, you have to take it to the giant green slime to get rid of it. Whilst you're trying to do that, there will be a load of enemies that will constantly respawn, along with a few different environmental hazards. Add to that your health constantly goes down and you have a limited supply of lasers to shoot out, and it really starts to get tense. The main thing that I remember about this game though is the fact that it's just super colourful. I had a blast replaying this again, and now that I know what I'm doing, I actually got much further than I ever have before. Next up is the first game for the Amiga, and it's Ocean's release of Batman. This was heavily advertised when the original movie came out, and so this is what the game's based on. You control Batman across 5 different levels, the first being a platformer. Here you platform very slowly, all while you take out a manner of different enemies. Your main attack is batarangs, and you can also use a grappling hook to not only traverse the levels, but pick off enemies if you manage to time it right. It does take a little while getting used to the swing mechanics, but once you do, it's not hard. It's very easy to take a lot of damage very quickly though. With the platform stage out the way, you get onto probably what is the most memorable part of this game, and that's driving the Batmobile. Playing this game for the first time in about 25 years very quickly reminded me that I must have been a god at gaming, because I have no idea how I managed to get past this stage and the later ones. Here you just have to drive on the streets of Gotham all while minding traffic. When the arrow at the top of the screen changes to left or right, you have to fire out your grappling hook to try and take the corner. It was a really cool mechanic then, and it still is a really cool mechanic now. But dear god, is it brutally hard. If you can somehow manage to pass that level, you then go on to a sort of puzzle. As a child, I never really understood what I was doing here, so I'd always get my older brother to do this. Overall, that's the main thing I've learnt from replaying this game. While the graphics and sound are good, the actual gameplay is really hard. I'm sure if I sat down and gave it a proper go again, then I could probably get the hang of it. It's not a bad game, it just definitely takes some time to get used to. And for the last game, it's Ghostbusters II, also on the Amiga. I remember playing this game more than any of the others on the list, and that's for 3 good reasons. Firstly, Ghostbusters 2 is one of my favourite movies ever. Secondly, the game takes an obscene amount of time to actually load. And third is, much like Batman, this game is stupid hard. It only actually consists of 3 levels. The first stage has you as Ray going down into the sewers to try and get some slime. As you slowly make your way down, you actually have to pick up different items to create the scoop to get the slime at the bottom. If you manage to make it all the way down there and you haven't made it, then you're going to have to go all the way back up. Impeding your progress all the way through are a bunch of different ghosts. There's a health meter in the bottom right corner of the screen, and every time you hit a ghost it goes down a little. Lose it all and you end up falling down into the slime. But there's also a rope gauge as well, and if that happens to break, then you also lose a life. You can use your proton pack to take out ghosts, but it's just quicker and better to just make your way down as fast as possible. With stage 1 out of 3 out of the way, it's then on to what I thought I remembered to be the best level in the game. This shoot 'em up stage allows you to take control of the Statue of Liberty and shoot a load of ghosts down out of the air. Every time you take out a ghost, it drops slime onto the floor, of which you can then instruct people on the bottom to go collect it. And you need to do this because your slime quantity depletes over time, so you need to replenish it. It turns into a frantic battle of trying to control and shoot enemies in the air, while also making sure that the little people at the bottom don't get turned into zombies or get picked up by ghosts. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I tried playing this for over an hour, and considering that this level is only probably about 4 to 5 minutes long, I couldn't manage to get past it to show you the final level. But from what I remember, you're not missing out on much. It's just a final battle against Vigo, where you have to move up your characters slowly towards the painting and get them in the right position. But again, much like Batman, this game does look really good, even if the slime is the wrong colour. It even features the Ghostbusters theme on here as well. So did I have fun going back to the first 4 games I remember playing? Well, for the Spectrum games, yes. While Jetpack might be super simple and it's very easy to get lost in Scumble, they're still highly playable. As for Batman and Ghostbusters 2, while I knew they wouldn't live up to my nostalgia, I still had some fun playing them. But if I was going to go back and play any of them, it would definitely be the Spectrum games. So these were just the first 4 games I remember playing, but if you were like me and had a Spectrum on Amiga, you probably had a lot more games, so I can always show off more in the future. But what were the first games you ever played and what system was it on? I'd be really interested in knowing, so drop a comment below. Anyways, I'm going to go wait another 20 minutes for another Spectrum game to load. I've been Tom for Jakejames Gaming, thanks for watching and have a great gaming day.